And so, my dear ones, welcome into the sanctuary. It is, after all, the last day of March. And as you know, we've been marching through this month knowing one thing, that we were called as a community, as a whole community, to focus on our inner selves and to get connected, reconnected with our inner selves. And to do this by focusing on walking the road of life together in integrity, in that unity and harmony and oneness with the presence and the power of the spirit of life itself that lives us. And today we're concluding that by looking again at this invitation to know ourselves. Man, know thyself, the words written on the Delphi temple a long time ago. And echoed in a way by Socrates when he said, you know, we're all called to live the examined life. And then Trower comes along and he underlines that and he says, you know, the examined life is far superior to the unexamined life. And many have said the unexamined life is not worth living. Well, I don't know about that. I think all life is worth living until we wake up and understand, you know, the what and the how and the who of it all. And so we're looking at this thing, man, know thyself. And doesn't it say in the Psalms, it's Psalm 46, I think it's verse 10, be still and know what? That I am God. Now, the only name we ever have been given for this thing called God is I am. Tell them, Moses, I am. I am who am. Because we all want to know who this thing, what this thing is, this thing called God. Called by many names and yet not God at all. Thank God, God is not the God that we have conceived God to be. I'm so grateful for that God is so much more than that, so much more than that. But whatever you want to call it, it will not be ignored because it is a power, it is an energy, it is amazing grace, it is an essence that is within us all and will not allow us to rest until we rest in the recognition and realization of it being within us as its own fullness and completeness and wholeness. My God, it's so jazzy to know this. Even just to know it, far less, you know, that we have the experience. But to begin with, we know this and not everybody knows it yet, but all will in time. So it's crazy good to be exposed to this kind of understanding. And it makes me crazy grateful every day of my life that at least I'm awake enough to know that. And not only when I say know it, but to feel it impulsing within me. And sometimes to an annoying extent. Go away already. But as Augustine says, our hearts will not find rest until we rest in that power, in that presence, in that energy. There's no other way of coming to that peacefulness, wholeness, fullness, wellness, and delight. You and I are born to be in blissful joy and delight. That's what we're born to be in, but we can only be that when we recognize who and what we are. But most of us are suffering, as you know, from truth or spiritual amnesia. And every now and again we wake up for a moment or two and we drink from that precious, ever flowing cup. And it refreshes us for a while, and then we go off and get distracted again by the things of three-dimensional planet Earth and all therein, and forget about it. But it's always there, that voice within us that is always singing us love songs. And it's an amazing thing. Sometimes the song is a tango. Sometimes the song is, you know, a waltz. Sometimes the song is slow dancing, which is very nice. And sometimes the song is a downright jig. But it's all there, going on, ever available and ever present. And you and I have to get hooked to it and connected with it and just know that it is extremely possible, or we wouldn't be here, or we wouldn't have the inkling, or you know why it's possible? Because we're never satisfied. We are so never satisfied with the stuff and things of this life and this world. Oh yes, we work for them, we get them. They delight us for 5 minutes, and after that we're going, there has to be something more. There has to be something more. And it's this thing that will not let us go. We are loved and held by a love that will not let us go, no matter what. No matter how crazy we might try to get, no matter how much we might try to self-destruct, we cannot succeed. We will not succeed. It's impossible. It's impossible. So sooner or later, you and I are going to wake up and do the work that it takes in order for us to get self-realized, because that's what it's all about. And Ernest Holmes says, don't think that self-realization is going to happen. You know Ernest Holmes, the creator and founder of Science of Mind and Spirit. He says it's not going to happen because you wish for it or you're trying to will it to happen. No, it's not going to happen that way. You have to do the work. Yes, work, W-O-R-K, work. You have to do the work for it. It's three-dimensional, planet Earth. In my Father's house, there are many, many, many mansions. This is very low down on the rung. As beautiful as it is, as wonderfully intoxicating as it is, as addictive as it is, it's three-dimensional planet Earth. It's denser than many others. But that's okay. Why? Because you're the lightness of being. I'm the lightness of being. I can move through density. Don't you love when you have those dreams when you're flying and all of that and everything is easy? It's wonderful. It's as real as this life is real, the life of dreams on the invisible side of life. So what is it going to be? Is it going to always continue to be the same old, and life as usual, and get caught up in the getting and spending, as the poet says? Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers, little we see in nature that is ours. We have given our hearts away a sordid boon. And at the end of the day, what's it all about, Alfie? That's what we end up singing. Nothing satisfies us. Don't we get that? Nothing satisfies us, because on this plane, every single thing changes. Persons, places, and things, it all changes and becomes something else. The only thing that doesn't change is your essential essence and the essential essence of all of life. The truth itself that does not change. And that's the one and only thing that you and I can rely upon, always being ever present and available to us, never letting us down, never disappointing us, none of that. Because it's a fullness, it's a wholeness, it's a completeness. And once within it, nothing is wanting. Nothing, no thing is needed. Nothing. And when that happens, you can be your glorious, gregarious, wonderful, spontaneous, giving self. Just cause. Just cause. The reasons for the cause are always pure when you're coming from that essence. No vested interest, no tit for tat, no if I give, I get, none of that. It's just our pure nature to be the givingness of life back unto itself. You've heard it, you've heard it, you've heard it, you've read it, you've read it, you've read it, you've seen it, you've seen it, you've seen it on so many videotapes and everything else. Well, when are we going to stop and pause the buttons on all of that and look within? The only place to discover it, the only place where your truth resides and where all the answers to all your questions are, and where everything can be revealed and healed, as we say. You reveal it to heal it. You can't stuff it in and push it down and ignore it and hope it will go away. You reveal it, you let it out. And you're ready then for the fullness to come in. Because nature abhors a vacuum. And if you're so stuffed to the gills with this, that, and everything else, there's no room left within us to put anything else in there. So we have to start tossing, getting rid of all of that stuff that does not serve us well. That keeps us stopped, keeps us blocked, keeps us back. Know who we are, we're told. Know who you are. Know yourself. And we're talking about the great self, not the egoic self that's always wanting, getting, and never is satisfied. Nothing satisfies from the outer world. The only thing that really satisfies is what we discover within ourselves. All the treasures of the kingdom, as we are told, the kingdom of higher consciousness, awareness is within you. Stop seeking for it low here and low there. The kingdom of heaven, of righteousness, of high consciousness is within you. And I, if I be raised up into higher conscious awareness, will draw all good to and through myself. To and through myself, not himself, herself, themselves, myself. And I can become the dynamic cosmic force that I'm here to be. And I will not focus on all that I am not or think I am not. The examined life is not about examining ourselves to find out all of the things that are wrong with us. And that's the way we've been introduced to examining our consciousness, to find out everything that's wrong with us, our wickedness, our sinfulness, and all. You know what? That's all behind us. It's all past. It belongs there behind us to be left alone. Every sacramental, sacred moment is a present moment here and now. And right here and now, I can be fresh. I can be a new leaf. I can be a bright, shining page to write upon whatever I choose to write upon it. And the past is done and over with if I leave it alone. The only time the past troubles us is if we don't leave it alone, But I cannot come into my own in the past. I cannot come into my own in the future. I can only come into my own right here and right now, and it could happen like that. The odds are it won't. You'll have to do your work, like most of us. Every now and again, one will come along, and that would seem to be the way. But as everybody says, there is no overnight success. When you go into it, they've all done their work somewhere in their youth and childhood. They did something good. And so now is the moment, is the power, is the presence, is the energy and the opportunity to rise up out of the inertia that keeps us strangled in a sense of ourselves not being yet enough. Well, when are we going to be enough? If we're judging ourselves according to what's wrong with us. No, the examined life is a life for those who want to find out what's right with themselves, the truth of themselves, the reality of themselves, the beauty, the grace, the goodness of themselves. When did you last dive into that examination of conscience? When did you last cry tears of joy? Because for a moment you got it. You got that you were more than yourself was with you, was in you, was present to you. You got that overwhelming sense of a fullness that couldn't be described. When did you last cry those tears of joy? When, I say? Because it ought to be often, plenteous and oftentimes that should happen for each and every one of us. If we're doing examination of consciousness the affirmative way, looking for the good, the treasures within. We are told we've been given all the gifts of the kingdom and all the treasures of the good, amazing Creator is within us. Well, whoever does deep diving for those? So the call this week is for you and for me to examine ourselves and discover the true essence of our being, the reality of each and every one of us, and our unique and individualized calling to be in this time, in this world now. We signed up for it. We came in assigned to this because we put our hands up and said, call me, I want to be in the front lines. I'll go, I'll do it, I'll go. The prophets, here I am, Lord, I'll go. I will be to your people all I can be to your people. And guess what? When you're thinking about to the people, I will be to the people, there are no people. There's only God. God is all there is only God. So how do I take care of the needs of the people? I don't. I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to realize who I am. And then when I realize who I am, I'm supposed to be a mirror and a reflector for people to look into me and see themselves as who they are and recognize themselves as who they are. It is that namaste thing. The light within me acknowledges the light within you. That's all it is. I don't have to go out, thanks be to goodness, I don't have to go out and save the world, because the world would be in a bad way if I had to go out and save it. Because it's not my job and I can't do it anyway. I have to be in the world as the fullness and completeness and the wholeness of myself, that's all. And when I am that, I become this very clear mirror that when somebody looks into it, they recognize their own face, their own truth, and they see the face of God. They see the face of God. We sing the song, you are the face of God. I hold you in my heart, you are my family, you are the face of God, don't we? We sing the song, I'm here to remind you of your beautiful, radiant magnificence. And you're here to remind me likewise, that's all. We're reminders to each other. We're not here to club each other, to clobber each other, to, fight with each other, to shake each other up into it. We cannot do that. We can only love each other into the recognition of the true essence of who and what they are. That's all we can do. That's all we're asked to do. That's what integrity is all about. Integrity is understanding every single individualized expression on this plane. Every form is the essence, is the glory, is the presence of the divine. And if I recognize that, I've done my job. All my job is to recognize the power and the presence of spirit in everything and everyone. Understanding, I am everything and everyone is me. Now, there's a job for us all. And we're called to, and we were asked, this was scripted for us to be asked to do this week. As you go through the week, being in touch with yourself, being in company with yourself, delighting in the opportunity to get to know yourself, maybe for the first time, a little bit better, to cease and desist when it comes to social media. No social media for a week. I can feel it in some of us. Don't take my gadgets away from me. Don't take my life away from me. Maybe I might just look up and grunt at you if you're talking to me while I'm... Yes, no gadgetry for a whole week. Well, now listen. I'm not a sadist or a masochist. I would ask you to do it for a day, even though we're asked to do it for a week. And if you get through the day, my hat is tipped to you, really. And you might be willing to say, well, I'll try that another day. Set yourself up for success when it comes to making these promises to yourself. Otherwise, you're all the time going to be failing yourself. And when you fail yourself, you chip away at your self-esteem. When you promise yourself something and you don't follow through, you chip away at yourself. Do not promise yourself easily. Don't promise anything unless you really are sure you're going to see it through. Don't make promises to yourself or anybody else, because a promise made is a debt unpaid. My mother always told us that. Child, a promise made is a debt unpaid. And I used to think, yeah, that's true. Even when she's scolding us, if she's going to promise that, she'll do it. But whatever. This is how you build yourself up and get yourself ready to jump into the depths of who and what you are. To be with yourself on the other side of life. To allow the form that you are come into contact with the formlessness that you are in truth, and let that form be absorbed by it until you do have the experience of becoming faceless, becoming formless. And then, my dear, you really do flow with the flow. And it's a good time. It's a good time. It's a good time. But having said that, it's bit by bit by bit, drop by drop by drop by drop. And that's again what Dr. Ernest Holmes says, just commit to your spiritual practice, whatever it is. And I'm not telling you what that is. You'll have to come to that yourself. And then about meditation, there's books on 4 steps, 10 steps, 30 steps, 9 steps, this, that, and the other. Use them until they're like training wheels until you come to what works for you, because meditation is nothing more, is shutting up, being still, and listening. Listening. How many people know how to listen nowadays? Have you noticed, including yourselves, myself? How many people know truly how to be present to somebody and be really listening like you know? Like there is that connection. How many of us are good at that anymore? Are we listening? Oh yes, we're listening, but to noise, to distraction, to all kinds of enticements, to all kinds of ways to be mesmerized by this, that, and the other. This is a very seductive plane. It's a very addictive plane, divine and gorgeous and wonderful though it be. And you have to be, equal to understanding that and knowing that and recognizing that. So I'm going to ask you, what is it that you want for yourself? And if you want what all of us are supposed to yearn for and desire, that we may rest in the divine who is always in beautiful repose within each one of us, if that's what we truly want, why is it we're not willing to do what it takes to be still? I see people grappling with that, even in meditation sessions and so on. Everybody's doing the best they can to be still and quiet, and you'll still hear shuffling, and you'll still hear foostering, and you'll still hear whatever for the moments when you take yourself out of where the oneness is, and you just go back into the outer world, and you can hear everything, because it's to listen. You show up in meditation to listen, so you hear every single thing amplified. It's wonderful the way that happens. Practice it until you get it. And one day you will get it, because being in spiritual practice is the same as in practicing anything. Oh my gosh, haven't you listened to a child learning how to play the violin? Mother of goodness. It doesn't do much for the ears, but then one day you just hear a bit of a tune beginning to form, and you're going, oh, she's actually playing something I can understand. And then one day she delights us all with a beautiful performance. Because what? She practiced. Now, if you and I practice the presence, court back the presence that's always courting us, that's all. I mean, we were courted up and down the yin-yang. We just ignore it and don't court back. That's what the invitation is. Court back the presence that's always courting each and every one of us, which is a sense of fullness, a sense of wholeness, a sense of completeness, a sense of okayness. And guess what? The hardest thing is that you and I get to do this while at the same time going through the vicissitudes of life, all of the conditions, all of the challenges, all of the situations, all of the circumstances that are not unto our liking. Yes. That's especially when we do this. That's especially when we practice the presence. That's especially when we look into the thing and we say, oh, what the hey this is. I was not expecting this. It doesn't look good, but this is what I am sure of. Good comes out of this. And I move through this with grace, with ease, because I know that which is within me is greater than that which is in the world. And I'm one with my source. So I am going to relax, I'm going to release everything around that, and I'm going to let spirit be the moving factor and the deciding factor in all of this, so that I can go through this with grace and integrity and come through it the stronger, the more potent, and the more powerful than ever before, because there's nothing stronger than the power of the presence of amazing grace that lives, moves, and has its being in me. And all I have to do is believe in it and say yes to it and say to the condition, I don't think so. And that's what you have going for you. That's what I have going for you. So the whole question arises with the decision in your mind and mind to be still and know. Because what I discover and what I know is all I have to do to rise above anything that may seem to ail me. So, my dear ones, to your own self be true, and it follows as night the day thou canst be false to any man, and you will be in integrity, and all will be well. And so it is.